Hi everyone, it's Simon Lou here and welcome to this training video, Pick Your Niche. Now there are a lot of people talking about, well, we need niche and what a niche means and how to actually pick a niche. But hardly anyone actually talk about the actual sort of psychology as well as a scientific process of how to actually pick one and how to actually make adjustment to it and actually in a practical way that in your practice and actually make it work. So I'm going to go through a process of not only just give you the formula how to actually pick one, but also talk about the way how you need to think about it and to apply the blue ocean that we talked about in the previous training video and how to actually get you to dominate your niche. Because when it comes down to pick a niche, a lot of people may think, well, you know, if I go in and focus on, say, if I'm an accountant, say if I'm going to focus on helping lawyers, the question might be, well, there are a lot of people already doing that for lawyers. So how do I differentiate myself? Like, how do I make myself any different? It's kind of everyone's already working with every niches or every occupation. So I'm actually going to break that down and really let you know that there is a infinite way of creating a blue ocean within the actual industry that you work in, and how you can actually create a perfect niche that is matching your own superpower and actually dominate in that and get endless opportunities because the niche that you choose. So let's get started on this. So here's what we are going to cover. We're going to talk about why pick a niche, because we need to understand the psychology behind it. A lot of people have started and grow the business without a niche in the past. They kind of think it's been okay, but they don't know what is the reason that they can't actually break through the business, or they just can't actually have more time of their life. It's all come down to the reason, the importance of actually picking a niche. And then I'm going to talk about why people fail to pick a niche, why they just can't make a decision, what is actually stopping them, and what are the actual examples of mistakes that some people have made in the past. I wanted to give that to you so that make sure that you're not actually making them by actually going through these trainings and as well as the exercise that you're going to do after. Then I will be going through talking about my journey, that what I've done in the past and how do I get evolved to now, and what that looks like. So you have got some understanding what it takes and how long what it takes to actually pick one, and how do you evolve yourself going forward. And then I'm introduce a new definition of what a niche means, which is different to what you've been know, or the stuff that you've been heard in the past. Is definitely something that is very, very unique and give you hopefully a breakthrough and allow you to think very differently. So then you'll be able to see huge opportunity for you to pick the niche that for you to work with. And then we will then go through a 3-step process and how to actually pick a niche that is going to work for you. So now, why are we picking a niche? Now, the man who chases 2 rabbits catches none. So we've heard that phrase many, many times. It's even come very, very true in information aging, because you know, when we're doing marketing back in probably about like 3 or 4 years ago, if you put any ads up, or if you just start sort of making some noise about what you do, who you are, and there are always going to be people that making inquiries and they're interested in what you do, and therefore you're having an opportunity to have a bit of chat. With the amount of information now and with what we actually consume in this age, that is very, very hard for anyone to actually articulate their own value in the marketplace and be able to get any attention. So if that phrase is true in the past, it's even more true today. You basically get nobody, and even though you get some attention, that no one would really care because you not belong to one of them. And so we want to make sure that we're going to catch a rabbit rather than actually catch none at the end of the day. And so the second point that I want to talk about is specialists that actually earn more money and get more respect and actually having a lot more fun with it. So just think about any industry that you know, that people who have got a specialty skills and who actually focus on a group of people to work with, they actually get more respect, they have fun, and they actually deliver a much better result because they able to channel all the energies into that one thing and producing a good result. Because for anything to be successful, whether you've been playing a sports, and whether basketball or soccer, or whether you're playing any other music instrument, or you just simply running a business, without focus on that one thing that you do, you can't make more money, and you kind of just plateaued and not having a lot of fun with it. Because if you're not really good at it, then you get bored pretty quickly. And imagine a general practitioner versus a brand surgeon. Now, a general practitioner sit in a medical center, and who sit on desk opposite of another human being, and having a 10-minute sessions, and be able to do like 6, 7, 8 sessions per hour, and just going through the volumes, and nothing really deep, because you can't really do much with the symptoms or the disease you have. Is simply just having a bit of a chat, and you can't really go in deep and can't really solve the actual problem apart from having a genuine discussion. And the GP pretty much exchange time for money, and doing repetitive the same thing every day, where a brand surgeon will take you a couple of months just be able to actually book a good one and sitting in front of them, and they probably spend 15 minutes and charging 10 times than a general practitioner, and having a lot more fun with it. You will then respect that, and you'll never really argue about the fees, what they charge, and you pretty much just listen everything they say, and they in a nice office and then makes way more money. So just in that comparison, you would know a clear cut difference. So the other reason your marketing become way powerful and convert more meaningful sort of people, and it's way easier for you to actually get clients when you know who you should be talking to. Because when you put any marketing and any sort of voice and messages or contents out there, if anyone just heard what you're saying, then it kind of makes sense, but it's kind of the same as what everyone else is saying. Because first of all, you're not calling anyone out, and second of all, that if you don't have a niche, then you'll not be able to craft anything that is anything good to help with that niche. You're kind of just doing everything for everybody. Then why should anyone that actually paying you attention? Well, then they probably to pay you attention back into the radio sort of phase, or even in the newspaper, because they were, if you are, for example, the only accountant in the whole city, or only one of the two accountants, then yes, you get some clients come to you because they want accounting services. But nowadays, everyone get like this accounting every single street, and so it's going to be very hard for you to get any attention. So it's going to be very hard for you to be the best in the world at multiple things, but it is actually surprisingly easy to become the best in the world at something that's specific. But the problem with people is that they don't really focus on one thing because they worry about missing others, and as a result of that, they spread out the energy for everything down on their plate, and they actually spread out their focus everything on the plate, and as a result of that, they don't actually deliver anything meaningful, and they're not really good at what they do. So when you're not good at what you do, you can put a lot of marketing and you can be really good at sales, but your end result, which is your product and services, becomes pretty average, and as a result of that, your client will not going to get a really great service or result, and you cannot charge a high fee. So now they are very different in the old way of thinking and versus the new way of thinking. Now, the old way of thinking of what we do is we only focus on us, which is if I'm an accounting and finance professional, whether I'm a financial coach, a CFO, or a bookkeeper, so I'm focused on what I'm good at, which is my certificates, which is my experience, how long I've been in the market, and how many transactions, how fast can I do, like what is my hourly rate, how much can I really charge, and I've done all this work, I've got a huge amount of experience, right? That is a very old way of thinking, because that thinking is only focused on you. The fact that now everything has been changed. If you think about from a business perspective, No one really care what you know and how long you be in the market and how many certificates that you really have. What people care is what value do you deliver to your client and what problem are you solving for them, and how do you actually consult or coach your client to actually get a result for them. And pretty much in the old days, and even now, a lot of people think, well, if I spent a lot of time with my client, surely my client should like me. They should just love me because I spent a lot of time for them. Yes, they may like you short term, but long term, if you're going to charge a high fees and if you're not actually delivering anything different, there is no reason for anyone, even though for your family members, to pay you a high fee, because it just does not make sense what it takes for economy, because the economy only ticks when the value has been created between the two parties. And how do we actually create value is by actually solving problems. So instead of actually focus on you, which is the professions, accounting and finance, what we should do is we should focus on the market, which is the client. And that is a completely different thinking compared to the old way of how people think, being a professions. Because when there's only one profession at a time, then yes, you may want to position yourself as a professor or a specialist, although you're not. But where there's 1,000 of them, then you probably only wanted to focus on a client, nothing, because the truth are that you probably don't want to hear, no one really care about you. No one really care about us. They only care what we're going to do for them and whether or not we're going to deliver anything that is different, that actually creates a value, solves the problem for their life and business. So why people hire accounting and finance professional in a new age? We know what accountant do. We also know what a financial coach or consultant do, what a bookkeeper does. But why do people actually hire? So it's always come from the market. Why do they want to hire us? So here's a chart that we've discussed before. We have on the left hand side, which is your current situation or the client's current situation. On the right hand side, which is the client's desired situation, because everyone have the current situation, whatever the facts, the way they dress, the business running, the numbers, the employees, the profitability, the cash flow, whatever it might be, it is their current situation. Everybody wake up in the morning, they're going to think, what I'm going to do today, they want to be somebody or something different. I'll create something that is different to what they have experienced or what they've got before. It's called a human evolution. It's how a brain has been wired, that we always looking to grow. Whatever that might be, we want something different, which is what we call the actual desire situation. So a human being will have their current situation, or even a business which then drives by a human. It's got the desired situation where the business at, and it's got a current and it got a desired situation where they want the business to look like. So an accounting and a finance professional is an expert at solving a particular problem and helping someone make a specific transformation in their life or business. So that is why people hiring an accounting and finance professional in the new age, right? In the old age, why people hire an accounting professional is you can come in and make some reconciliation and do a bit of bookkeeping, so then someone's gonna actually do the transaction, doing the work for me. That's all pretty cool, but as we know, that as technology grows and as there's tens of thousands of people be able to exactly doing that, and they're actually doing it way cheaper. So you're kind of in the phase of transactional advice or services and time-based services where you only got 24 hours. So where people have no reason to pay you more fees, and as a result of that, there is no reason why they're paying you more, and therefore we're not making any money. So why are we in the business if we only work but we're not making any profit? So what does the new age accounting looks like is for people to solve their own problems and take a transformation by our advice, and we're the expert of actually solving that and to get a client from point A to point B. And that is all what we do, and that's why people hire us. So just so that we know, in the traditional mind, we're thinking, we're thinking we know what the market want, but the fact that everyone actually have a different desires and problem. So a group of manufacturers that may wish to tidy up the books and increase the valuation, and they're ready to sell, right? That might be their desires. Their problems are that they probably have a really messy book, so then therefore that it doesn't actually allow them to show a good track record. So they are not going to be in a position to package the company that is presentable so they can actually sell at a high value. That is that problem, and that is also the desire, which is to sell at a good price, which is increase the valuation. Now, a group of medical practitioners may wish to exit the business and actually retire in 5 years. Now, that might be different to someone who just starting in the profession, in the medical industry. Complete different, complete desire, complete problems, although they're the same occupation. Now, a group of restaurant owners may want to cut the cost to increase profitability. A group of startup companies may wish to start up the accounting structure to grow. Maybe they wanted to make sure that minimize the future capital gain tax going forward. Maybe they wanted to make sure they're not going to be obligated to have a legal issues by not actually setting up the structure right in the first place. Whatever the reason might be, we never know because everyone are different. A group of not-for-profit company may wish to reduce the cost and actually trajectory for sustainability of their future business, whether they're going to want to have any growth or not, but the sustainability may be what they want. And again, another not-for-profit may have different purposes because the board have a different vision and the structure of the board is different. Again, we just never know. And same as a construction company, they may want to manage a project cost better and increase the cash flow. So as you see, they're all different industries, but also within a different industry, they will have different design and actual problems. So to start and grow a successful accounting and financial practice and help people to make a transformation, that you must pick a niche. So I'll just go back to this. Have a think in a second. Now, how do you be able to get people results if you're not just simply doing some transactions and reconciliation or bookkeeping or simply a tax return? So how do you actually get people result from A to B without knowing who they are and without knowing where is their point A? And if you don't know their point B, you kind of can't really drive the relationship. You kind of can't really get to where, like, you can't really get them anywhere. You basically will just providing a bunch of services to validate the existence of your services and the reason why you do what you do, but it doesn't actually deliver any meaningful result as a result of your services. So I wanted to talk a little bit about why people actually fail to pick a niche. Now, a lot of people think that they're actually going to marry to the choice of a niche for the rest of their life. They think, well, if I'm going to pick a niche, if I actually pick it wrong, I kind of, I have to divorce with that. It's quite actually painful. I don't want to go to actually marry with somebody that I'm not really comfortable with. So it's kind of like a guy that wanted to get a wife, but then you start dating because you got to start dating to know someone, you want to get into marriage. But the guy kind of just go, look, I just try a little bit of dating. I'm not really involved in this dating, and I'll just give, a little bit of effort. What happened then is you would pretty much have a really bad experience in that dating, and as a result of that, you're probably not going to marry to that particular relationship. So the way to think about that is, well, yeah, you're not really going to marry to them, but you have to be all in when you do pick a niche, because that's when you're going to be able to create a great result and have a good relationship, and to know more about the niche in order to progress to the next level. And if it's not really the niche that you wanted to work with down the track, well, you can always just making a change. And what I've been observed is that people, like I've known people that have choose 3 niches and had made huge success, and also know that people have not chosen a niche at all and been procrastinating about that for like years, and still hasn't made any money. So the question is, do you want to be a person that could, yes, maybe you could pick a wrong one. It's really, there's no right or wrong at the end of the day, because you will really never know unless you get to that point anyway. So by really think about it in the mind without actually taking action, that's the first thing people get wrong. Second is they just not be able to decide and actually being torn between multiple things. It's kind of like if if you can't make a decision, and if you would have read the book Think, Growth, Rage, that decision makings and procrastinations is the biggest thing that actually kills people, because decision making is the actual ability itself. Now, a lot of people can't make decisions because they worry about if they're gonna regret. It's kind of like if you wanted to start a business, you think, well, if I actually gonna do a wrong business, I kind of gonna fail and my life's gonna fail. So they look at the actual sort of short-term failures to be a really dramatic issues over the long term, and they worry about they're gonna regret. So they're not gonna do anything, and as a result of that, they probably never start a business. Versus someone who start a business, and what you're gonna be guaranteed is the niche that you're gonna choose. And use the example of starting a business you're gonna pick. It may not be, pretty much, it's probably going to be guaranteed it will not be the last business you're going to run, and the niche you're going to choose is not going to be a niche that you're going to work with for life. That is probably going to be guaranteed. So there's no point to even think about you're going to pick a right or wrong one. Just got to be able to pick one. And the other one is feeling like you have nothing to actually give and no ability to create value. And the reason for that is we focus on what we've been doing in the past, and we look at, well, how can I just leveraging what I know, so then I can actually create some value? Well, the chances are, if you wanted to actually deliver a different result, and being this part of this program, this course is to get different results compared to what you've been getting in the past, the chances are you're probably going to have to do different actions and learn different things and create different values, and in exchange to get different results. Because if you're not going to do anything different, you are not going to get any different result. So you will just have to pick a niche and go and learn what's needed and how to actually create value, and believe in yourself, and actually going to do something different. Because the chance are what you have, whether you've been in the industry for the last 10 years, the last couple months, is great to serve you where you're at now, but it's no longer serve you to who you want to be. The next one is going to copy what other people are doing and have done instead of owning the decisions yourself, because you just think about, well, what other people have done, so therefore if I just do that, therefore I should be successful. Now, that's true on the surface when you just look at things that you don't really go deep, but when you go deep in any niche, there are huge amount of psychologies, little details and characteristics, and that you just never really know unless that you actually experiencing that. So for you to look at a surface level, you may go, well, it's kind of like, oh, the property going really well. If I just go and do like property development, I should be rich. Or some people will go, well, internet should look good, and if I do just internet online marketing, then I should make a lot of money. You never really know what it takes, and for people to be successful is the insiders who really know they can actually go and make it. So there's probably even no point to look at what other people are doing, because it does not make any sense from a matter of time, a trend perspective, both in the market. Like what people have picked a niche in 3 years ago and doing really, really well, it means nothing for you to pick the same niche, because that niche may be changed, or you may not even know anything about why people picking that niche and what they're actually doing for them. And all you gotta do is looking at a word itself. Oh, that guy chose a doctor, I should just choose a doctor because doctor have got a lot of money. And that's another reason why people fail to pick a niche successfully. And the next one, being afraid to be you and do what you know that you want to do, to conform and actually fit in, because you just wanted to be able to do what other people are already doing, and you just don't want to be you. Because in today, the biggest problem why business is not successful is because they looks exactly the same. There are no difference between you versus another bookkeepers or another coaches next door, just no different. So in order for you to be absolutely different, you have to be just you, because only you that is very, very unique on this planet, that no other people can actually replace you. Now, if you try to be someone else, the fact that you can't be 100% someone else, and if you're just going to be copied like 80% of it, you're kind of nobody, right? Therefore, as a result of that, no one actually believing you, because it's not truthful, it's not authenticity. So seriously, it doesn't matter whether you pick the wrong niche or not. You kind of just have to just get started. It's kind of like driving a car. You think about, well, how do I need to put a gear into one? Do I need to put do I need to accelerate? Do I need to brake it? Do I need to turn the light on? Do I turn left and right? And you will not ever know how you're going to drive that car until the car start moving. Now, when the car start moving, you will know how to turn left and how to turn right. It does not mean it's going to be comfortable, but don't let your uncomfortability overriding your ability to make decisions and your ability to choose a niche. Because even though you get it wrong, that will give you every ability and every skill set and every processes, which is the most important thing, the process, because there is no end result for your niche and there is no end result for your life. But the process of every action that you take is going to give you and contribute to enough knowledge, the power, allow you to make a good decision and what is actually right. If you look at all business owners, the business that actually makes a lot of money is the one who's starting, fail, and actually done a lot of different type of business, talk a lot of different challenges, and those people are the one actually make it really successful business, big business. Same as a pick a niche. If you choose a good niche to start with, you'll be able to get yourself evolved. If it might be the same niche that you're going to do for the next 5 years, and maybe that you're going to change your niche in 6 months, it does not matter. But what needs to happen is choose one, so therefore you can choose the right one on actually going through start the journey and on track of that path. So why people fail to actually pick a niche? Now, a lot of other people think, well, let me think about it. So if I, for example, if I'm a financial coach and I would go, if I look at the market, what is the problem in the market? And if we use example as Australian, go, if we see, okay, well, a lot of people bad with money. They just can't save money. And what I'll do is I'll just help, people that starting families at late 20s and early 30s to save money so they can actually buy a house. So that is from a big audience perspective. So if you look at that, you're putting everyone in that basket. You kind of like, well, everyone, sometimes I ask my client, like, who is your client? They go, everyone who need blank. And I go, like, you don't know your clients at all, because that's everybody, right? So when you actually target everybody, if you actually describing your niche and somebody can hear that your niche is actually talking to everybody, you pretty much don't have a niche. And that's why people actually go with a big audience. And the reason to do that, they wanted to make sure they're going to get more client. They worry about not being able to actually get more client. So therefore they actually targeted a big audience. And as a result of that, you would know that you probably not be able to pick up any clients or any clients good to charge a good fee and deliver a good result. And nowadays, so don't go with a big audience to actually small audience. Now instead, and people success in picking the right niche is they go with a small audience, right? A very smaller segment of people and actually doing really, really well for that. Once you prove that you can do that, then you'll be able to stack your next skill set or you stack your next niche and actually expanding your niche and expand, right? So if you, for example, focus on, just make an example, you could be focus on helping the franchise cafes to do their bookkeepings and as the number one very small sort of segment and just focus on from that and you also got to understand what the current situation, what the desired situation and what the problems you're solving by doing bookkeeping. You can't just go and offering a bookkeeping services because it's kind of pointless. There's no different to others, which we're going to talk about how to actually do that. But then after you've done that, you may be able to actual consulting on top of that to actually help them to increase their cash flow positions, and then you'll be able to add more to that to help them with more to increase their profitabilities, and then you'll be able to add more towards that to implement a costing system. So, and then you'll be able to actually help more cafes, not just franchise, but every cafe is out there who is experienced. And after you've done that, you maybe then be able to add another segment, which is help everybody who's starting a cafe. They're all very different segment, but you'll be able to stack in one or the other. But if you're going to say, hey, I'll help all cafes out there to do their bookkeepings, you're not going to get everybody. If you're going to get anyone, it's probably not going to be a client that it's know what they want. And if they don't know what they want, the chances are it's going to be mismatch in the service that you provide and the relationship you're going to have with them for long term and the fee that you charge. So start small and stacking your skill sets and then go big audience as you should prove the first niche. or little segment of your niche. So my journey. So how I started is I started a financial advisor business, and I was basically gave every advice to everybody. So I was doing, cash flow, and I was doing, financial planning. I was doing insurances, and I was doing a bit of bookkeeping system setup, and I was, it's just a bunch of things of superannuation, investment, retirement planning. I wasn't really good at anything, but I was kind of I was doing a whole bunch of things, because when people ask, what do you do? I said, well, I do everything. And that I thought was actually allowed me to actually get, to get into a business, because I just wasn't confident to actually pick one. And what happened, I started actually offering a holistic financial planning to young families between 30 and 40s. Not really sort of the right thing to do, but that's kind of I did that. It was sort of the mistake that I made as well. And I started introducing accounting and mortgage solutions, and I started a mortgage business, and all that sort of thing combined to one. I thought, I'm one-stop shop, right? I'm a holistic, I do everything. I'm for small business owners, right? My clients are business owners. And it's kind of really funny. It's pretty suck, right? Because who is a business owner? That's like 90% of business in Australia. So then I start cutting back. I realized that I couldn't charge a fee. I realized I wasn't delivering any tangible result. I was kind of just a generalist that was offering my time to exchange for some kind of money. And I start cut back more often and offering a passive income solution to everybody. So my specialty is income, right? So I help people to make passive income. And I kind of think that that's what people want. So I was offering to everyone, and that kind of got evolved in offering a passive income to business cash flow solutions to small businesses, more concentrated. And then after that, I started offering a training to turn people passion into a business. And that's what I did. I thought, I'm pretty passionate about turning my passion into a business. And a lot of people are passionate, can't do a business. And I quickly realized I wasn't concentrated enough. And I couldn't really help them with every business because they're just too messy. And as I was getting a lot of people who make inquiry how to start accounting business, and I was accounting how to actually do a better with accounting firms, and I realized, well, there's a real need because of my background. And then I start evolving coaching on how to start and grow an accounting and a financial practice, which is what I'm doing now. So you would have seen that took me so many variations of my niche to really get to where I'm at today, and it's very completely different to how I got started. But the point is to learn my mistake of what I've done in the past. A, you don't want to do what I've done because it took me so long, I made so many mistakes. And B, that you would know that you would never really know until that you in motion. So just get you started so you can not making the mistake that I made, but be able to actually take an action to pick your niche. So again, it doesn't matter where you start because you never know things for sure until you actually get in motion and actually start moving forward. So the reasons why our education system is actually failing in the past, and the other reason we can't pick a niche is because people were just thinking, well, I'm not really good enough to actually help. Like if I'm going to choose to work, say, with construction company, because there's been booming construction over the last few years because of property development, but like I'm not really good enough to help them, so I can't really choose them because I'm not good enough. And then you think, well, what do I need to do? Maybe I need to get to a certificate of how to do some good work with construction company. Maybe I need to go and study another little course about construction company. Maybe that I need to study a tax law or a tax act about how to actually minimize tax liability for those companies. So all the things put you in a position about you, which is again that what education have trained us to be. Now how education is like, you just got to know who is running education system in every country and why the whole education is failing, not just in the country but as the whole planet. Who's running education is the government. And so what does the government really care? The government really care employment. So they need to make sure there is always going to be people doing the work, because that's what contribute to the GDP of a company, and as the GDP is making of the creates a value, which then makes the GDP of the actual country. But they obviously don't want everybody to be in the business, therefore there's no one actually is employees. So the education teaches us to become a good employee. You go to business school and you learn how to run business, but none of the skill that actually get you to run a business. It teaches you a nonsense about business in a business school that you paid a lot of money for, and that is why it's failing. So instead of thinking about us, we really just got to get rid of the thinking about what we know and how good we are, because it does not really matter when you're starting out or even your mature business. All you got to think about is what the market. So put your eye off yourself, because no one cares about you, to be honest. Look into the market. What does the market want? So that's what we need to do. So introducing the definition of a niche. Now, a traditional definition of niche is that we thought about a industry. I want to focus on health industry, medicals and hospitalities or education, etc. So that is a traditional way of thinking, well, if I choose a niche, it means an industry. Well, they actually define our things as they are with no regard of what they want to become, right? So if you're providing services only as what they are, which is who they are today, clearly that you're not really driving them to be where they want to be. So it can only be based on transactions and time, which means that you have to use your human or labor hour to produce the income for your business. That means that you're going to have intense efficiency issues, and means that you're going to have a huge profitability issues in your business, and also means that you are not innovative when you're looking at things as what it is. So you're not looking at what they become, right? Very interesting thing to think about. So when we look at B2B, which is a business to business, it's what people think. Well, if I'm an accountant, I help business, it's business to business. But the new way, like the old way thinking, it's business to consumer. So I'm either a accountant help individual to do the tax returns, or I'm an accountant helping a business to do the compliance. So it's kind of either B2B or B2C, and that is the old way of thinking niche. I'll be explaining what a new way is, but that's how people think. I've got half individuals and I've got half businesses, and that's what structure my current client base, my firm. So, or accountant, lawyers, plastic surgeons and dentists, real estate, that's all sort of occupation or industries. So, but most niches are red ocean. We did talk about blue ocean strategy in the previous trainings, that most niches been peaked. Like everybody have picked a niche in the past. Like there are a lot of people now. There wasn't anything called about niche in the old days, because again, if you are the only accountant in the whole city, you don't have to pick any niche, right? You kind of just got to work for them. As there are more accountants, more people in your industry, then you kind of have to pick a niche, right? So you pick a traditional niche. But then come to nowadays, everyone have picked a niche, which means that everyone have actually for example, you could be accountant focused on construction companies, then yes, there will be a lot of accountants already doing that. So it's kind of all red ocean. So the first group of people who had a success in that niche is that. Then people saw the success that, well, you've just had a property boom over the last 10 years, so you were helping construction companies, so therefore you made a lot of money, so I should jump into that. And what you need to know, the market is always changing over time. Not only the industry has changed in the construction, for example, it doesn't mean it's good or bad, but you can't just look at things as what it is. You have to look at things as what they become. That is only different that you can make within that red ocean, which we're going to talk about. So the traditional way of thinking niche results in limited possibilities and creates huge competition in a crowded industry. And this results in a business doing what everyone else is doing. And then makes your price low, and makes your marketing weak, and makes you harder to convert a client because you're no longer any different. It just makes no difference. I mean, you could be really strong at Google SEO, and people search, say for example, accountant Sydney, you pop up number one. So you probably get like 5-10 leads a day, but again, you're no different, because all you're saying is you rank number one. People come, they're gonna ask you how much it costs your services, because they don't see you any different. Just because you got the attention, even though doing really great marketing, it means nothing, because you're not valued although you get attention, which is you could be doing well in marketing, but on the back end, your services are still not valued from a client's perspective because you're not different, you're not specializing me, and you're not delivering anything that is meeting my needs. You're just a generalist accountant that tend to be pretty popular in the city area. That's who you are. Again, that's how you need to look at from both a marketing as well as the niche perspective and what your client or your potential niche are actually thinking about your services and your current value proposition. So let me introduce you to the new niche. Now, the new niche is, first of all, they are a group of people, right? A group of people have a similar characteristics, have the similar desire, have similar problems, that they wake up in the morning, want to be something different. Not necessarily has to be just say, occupation. It can be, but it doesn't has to be. It is non-linear that are actually evolving. So instead of asking what it is something, we ask what does it become mean. So we've talked about that. Instead of looking at a point, we're looking at a trend. And we merge B2B and B2C, we'll make it to P2P, which is people to people. So instead of looking at a business, because a business is actually cold, a business is just a bunch of numbers, but who's actually driving the business, right? So instead of looking at your client base, I've got individuals and I've got businesses. Well, that's the old way of thinking. The new way of thinking is instead of looking at business to business, we got to look at emotionally, what is the desire of that business and what is the fear of that business and what are the problem of that business. And when you look at that, well, the desire and the feelings can only come from feelings because business doesn't have feelings. And if you look at the feelings, then it comes down to the owner of the business, because at the end of the day, they're the ones going to engage with services and they're the one want to help you. So instead of look at a B2B, we just got to look at P2P. So we got to know with the group of people, what people are thinking before they go to sleep, what make them can't sleep at night, and what make them wake up in the morning and where they want to be. We're looking at what does it becoming for these people that who's tend to be also be the business owner. So there are an infinite number of criteria, meaning there are endless possible combinations, right? They're not non-linear, right? They are not linear, right? So a linear, which is point A to point B, right? It can be one option. A non-linear would then providing endless possibilities for the niche for you to create and for you to choose. So traditional versus new. Now, traditional niche example as they are with limited categories: business, doctor, lawyers, insurance, printing companies or shippings. Business to consumer will be high income, low income, teenagers, adults, retirees, couples or families, right? That's B2B and B2C. Now the new niche example is what they are becoming with an infinite categories, which is business to people, which like P2P, people to people, electricians who wants to increase the cash flow, lawyers who wants to manage the compliance through smart bookkeeping, online startups owners want to set up their corporate structure, small business owners who wants to qualify for the government grant, manufacturer owners wants to increase their business valuation and exit, e-commerce business owners want to minimize their tax liability with their international business. Whatever that might be, that every category have an infinite transformation that they want to be, because not everybody have the same desire problem that we talked about before. So we talked about why we need to pick a niche, what are the mistakes potentially you're going to do to pick a wrong niche or not pick a niche at all. So what are the difference between a traditional and a new niche, and now we're going to talk about how to actually pick a niche. So there are three elements, which are three steps that involved to pick a niche that is only relevant for you, right? So the first circle on the top is a group of people that you know and passionate about, right? That you could be knowing them because how you growing up, that you've got an uncle or your family business or your parents are doing that. Your parents could be a doctor, your parents could be running retail shops, whatever, or restaurants, whatever that might be that you're familiar with, so that you have a bit of sense about that. You want to know what it takes. You're just really going to be doing that better compared to a lot of people who don't know about that at all, because you're just missing that feeling element. So a group of people could be like the industry that you know or you studied, or could be what you experience. Most importantly, that's something that you're passionate about, because nowadays it's very easy to learn a new skill sets if you know who you're targeting. But if you're not really passionate about them, if you don't really like them, it's kind of maybe make it a little bit hard. And you could be thinking, well, I'm not really passionate about anybody. What do I do? Well, I think the new way of how I look at between love, passion, and work is you can only be passionate about something that if you actually good of what you do, which means that if you start working really hard and deliver results, you'll start developing a passion and love with what you do. Think about the first job that you get in. You never really know what you're passionate about. You're kind of just going to do something to get yourself involved in something. So to working in an industry for a long period of time will gradually give the passion and love that you're going to have. But we can't simply just think about the passion, but also think about all elements about this group of people. So that's the element one, which is a group of people. It could be industry, it could be a startup companies, it could be e-commerce, whatever it might be, it needs to be a group. Now, the second thing we're going to look at, which is on the left-hand side, which is the strength and the skill sets you have or can learn. Now, it could be that you're good at reverse engineer business, very logical thinking, so you can do a lot of great consulting for business because you had a lot of great exposure by your past experience. It could be that you're really good at financial modeling. It could be that you're really good at doing the numbers, or you might be really good at tax planning, or you may be really good at retirement planning. So whatever your skill sets are, that's the second element, because obviously it's not good enough just choosing a group of people. If you're not going to do anything with it, you've got to be able to match it up with your skill sets or the skills that you can learn. Now, I'm going to go through the actions later on in a different training, but we can definitely very, very easily go to learn something that are to match up with your current skill set and to make a whole service offering that actually add value to your client. So if you don't know any skill sets that can actually benefit your client, it's not something that you need to worry about it at all. It's going to be very, very simple. And the third element is the market problems and desires. And what's in the middle is your niche, right? So we choose a group of people. Yes, we've got some skill sets. We may need to learn something, maybe not. We can actually help them, but it's kind of only looking at us, right? Imagine that we've talked about the market. We always got to look at the market, because if the market doesn't have a desire and they don't have the problem, then it doesn't matter what you're good at. They're probably not going to pay you for your services, although you're good at what you do. We have to make sure there is a problem that we identify that is so painful they want to solve that, because again, people are paying for pain 100 times paying for pleasure. So we got to be able to have a pain. We also got to have a bit of a pleasure, because we want to make sure not only we solve the pain, but also help people to get to from where they are to where they want to be, which is the desired situation. So there is a hope, and there's also a dream by actually working with you. So that's all the psychology of human being, and actually why pretty hard in the brain, and that is very, very important. Now, the misconception about accounting and finance industry, which we sort of briefly mentioned, is how good we are and how much certificates, how good we are, and how much work, like how smart I am. Like I've got CPA, I just need to study more. And that's really the biggest misconception that in our mind, that we have been programmed during the early stages of the school, or program when we join a company, the old partner go, you got to go through these stages, like you have to learn this, you have to learn that, you have to be good at that, therefore you become potential associate and become a director, and then you become a partner. All that bullshit that I've been telling in our mind, they've been reprogrammed, because obviously a business owner, they want you to be in a business as long as you can and going through the tiers. And after 10 years to become a business owner, that's a very stupid way to look at it. And you got to learn all different skills, right? And they don't care what you're learning a skill for, because put it this way, there are so much you can learn out there. You can live 1,000 years, you're still not going to be able to learn them all. So then the question is, what is the point of learning if it's not really going to create any value? Because that's the bottom line of the question. Why your business exists is to create value, solve problems. Why is that? Because if you do that, you have meaningful business, you have a meaningful relationship with the client, and therefore you're going to make a lot of money. But if you're not going to create value, what's the point? But how do you create value? Value does not create by how much experience and how much you can study for it. All right? You can be the smartest PhD who is specialized in accounting, but if you're not actually delivering any value to the accounting industry, then what's the point to hire a PhD, if that makes sense? So a lot of people would think, well, if my client ever know how smart I was and how skillful that I am and how much sort of certificate that I have and experience I have, then surely they should be paying me because I'm very experienced. They should be paying me, right? That's really old way of thinking. And also, it's also the same wrong way of thinking when you're starting up a business, because you're thinking, well, I don't have the skill set. This guy got 20 years experience. Surely people should go to him rather than come to me. That's also a very false thinking. Like, I only started my business 4.5 years ago, and I coach and help people that have got 30 plus years experience than me, but who makes way less money, who creates way less value in the marketplace. So it's never about how many degrees and how much experience you have. It's all come down to the truth, which is how much value you create. Now, experience does not equivalent to value at all in a true equation of business value creation, if that makes sense. So the third circle, which is the market problems desire, which is the most important factor by far, because again, the only way to create value, which is to get paid, is to solve problems, right? That is the only way for you to create value in your business. So it's what we call the market backward approach. A lot of people starting a business think about, actually choosing a niche or a services. They go, what can I do? What's experience that I have? That's all come to you. So now we talk about the new way. What is it? Is we also look at the market. Who is the market? What's the niche? And what the current problems are, and how do I be able to actually help them solve that problem, right? So always backward from the market, never come from you, all right? Never learn from the old school system, but learn from the market, because the market's always the actual provide you the true data, because the market is infinite. It is not linear. The market is non-linear. It's always evolving, it's always changing. So therefore, the only way for you to create any value in the market is to look at the market. So 2 ways of choosing your niche. Your new niche 1.0, which you can choose a niche, which is a occupation or industry with 1 to 3 transformations. Could be that you help barristers to doing bookkeeping, outsource CFO or tax planning. Now, I do suggest that you choose one transformation to start with, just because you can actually doing a really good job on that no one else can do. As soon as you choose multiple services, you intend not to do a best job in any one of those. But however, you can start with 3 transformations, or the new niche 2.0, which you will choose one transformation with 1 to 3 niches. It could be a tax reduction strategies, if you're really good at that, for medical professionals, construction companies, lawyers. Even that I think is a little bit general. It could be a tax reduction strategies for say lawyers or family lawyers, and then a specialist doctors. So make it a bit more specific, but focus on your transformation, which is your key strategy. Now, the way how you look at, if you knew, or if you want to create something very, very result-driven transformation, or you choose 1.0. But if you really specialize, for example, if you just really good at financial modeling, like no one else can actually do as well as you've got very, very strong assets in that, very, very unique, then you can choose one transformation, right? If you know international tax law, and if you be able to structures really well, tax minimization, and be able to actually know how to mix unit trust and looking at all the corporate structures and doing really well in that, then yes, you can actually help use tax reduction strategy in helping large or medium corporate, and you still got to be able to choose some niches. But if you don't really have any specialties that no one else that is just similar to everyone else is doing there, then you better go with the niche 1.0. So if you choose, for example, a plumber, you can say, well, I help plumbers to do obviously your bookkeeping, budgeting, and tax planning, tax preparation or tax return. If that's your 1.0 niche. So one niche with 3 transformations. The second will be a new niche 2.0. You could choose a financial modeling for not-for-profit plumbers and importing and exporting businesses. So that can be the second way how you look at your niche. What you can't do, which is what majority of people do, they have multiple niches in the business and they're doing multiple things for them. And the chances are, if you look at that, you will know that you're not doing anything well and you can't charge a high fee and you can't deliver a result. There's no transformation. It's a bunch of to-dos and end up with burning out and end up with not making a profit. So this is something you can't do, right? So either you do new niche 1.0, 2.0. If you got a specialty really good, you just can't do this, which is what a lot of people are doing out there. So don't fall to the traditional niche thinking, which is, again, even though that you go with niche 1.0, which is choose one niche, couple of transformations, even though you have picked that niche, you can't verify the transformation until that you find out about the problems and desires and how your transformation can actually help them close the gap from where they are now to where they want to be. Even though that you have chosen, and this is in this particular training, even though that if we go ahead and choosing your transformation, which if we already know what you're good at, if you have confirmed your transformation, you can't confirm the niches until you find out which niche has the problems and desire that your specialties or your transformation can actually help them close the gap from where they are now to where they want to be. So you simply can't just go, because I'm good at financial modeling, surely I can do it for importing, exporting, manufacturers and all that. You have to know in today's aging what is going on in the business and which industry has the most desire and has most the problem that your current skill set can help them, even though you go with niche 2.0. So if you want to expand the value massively and create a monopoly offer, you have to focus on niche 1.0 and learn the specific problems and how an ideal person in that niche should actually run the business, organize and design it financially. So therefore, you then be able to craft your offer that actually solve the problem. That's way more powerful, and that is how you're going to create a monopoly offer. And if that's what you want, a massive value. Now, once you have talked to a dozen different people in niches, understand the problems and result they need, then you can go ahead and figure out how to actually deliver a service for them. So for now, what you don't want to think about is what you do and how you do to help them, because it's not going to help you to choose a niche, because we got to go one thing at a time. It needs to be important of a sequence of actually thought patterns and process in your mind, choosing one, and once we tick that box, we go for the second. So don't mix it up thinking about what you're going to do for them unless you've chosen your niche. So don't mix these two thinkings together. That's when people also fail. So every traditional niche would actually lead to several new niches, right? So we'll talk about the old and the new. Now, the same restaurant, the same looks of the restaurant owner A could cut cost and keep it lean to increase its profitability and going for small. Restaurant owner 2 could be restructured its business and ready to expand. Medical practitioner 1 could be transitioning out of business, retire 5 to 10 years with a strong passive income. And medical practitioner 2, it could be someone who wants to do things completely different, right? They could want to expand, actually buying a premises and whatever it might be, and get multiple partners, or it could be they're just starting out. The same online store, the number 1 could start up online business, wants to structure the accounting system, and number 2 could want to build an international corporate structure and minimize the tax. They just want everything like complete different things because they have different desires, and therefore there's multiple niches within a niche, which is again who they're becoming, a new way of thinking about niche. The same manufacturers, the one could be intended to clean out the books and increase the valuation to sell, and another manufacturers want to install the financial management system and to streamline the back-end processes. Again, very different desire, although they are in the same old industry. So we'll teach you how to actually conduct your market research for your niche and the transformation that you're after to, to sort of once you actually pick your niche. So we'll teach you how to actually conduct the problem, diagnose, and how to adding value to them, and how to craft your offer, and which again give the transformation that your clients need. But for now, what you need to focus on is to pick your niche. So don't think about what you're going to do for them, otherwise it would confuse you and you again stuck in a position where you can't make a decision. So to conclude this training video, we've talked about why we need to pick a niche, why people fail to do so, what was my journey up to date, what has been happening, and learn the mistake that I made, and what is the new way of thinking about your niche, what are the definition of the niche, talked about 1.0, 2.0, see things as what it is, and also see things as they're becoming, and which is an infinite, a non-linear way of actually creating a niche within a traditional way of niche, and actually went through a 3-step process and how to actually pick a niche. So in the next video I'm going to go through, which will then talk about how to take actions and actually pick your niche, and doing a bit of exercise to actually make that happen before we go ahead and do any research and learn any skill sets or anything needed to serve that niche. So that's it for this training video, and I'll speak to you at the next one.